Thanks for tuning in today. Today is my day 9 video of my 10-day challenge, and it's taken me a few days to make this video because of the topic that I'll be talking about today. So it's been a couple days, and I've been pondering whether I should do this and how I should do this. And so let's see how this turns out, because this topic is very censored on the all the algorithms pretty much right now. So today I'm going to be talking about conspiracy theories and conspiracy in general. Conspiracy facts, what are they? Pretty much my whole life I've been a patriot, conservative, thought the United States was just the best thing in the world. And that's all I knew. That's all I knew, that everything was great. And after the events of 2020, I started looking more into things and opening my mind up to the possibility that maybe things aren't the way they seem. I've always been a pretty good thinker, thinking outside the box kind of guy, and not just regurgitating what people told me. Pretty good at synthesizing information and coming up with my own opinions, and they were, I thought, pretty solid. Always in my life, I've always questioned, the whole JFK thing. Wasn't sure, if it was just one shooter, even though he's a Marine like me, pretty good shot. I don't know if I could have taken those shots, and I'm an expert shooter. So I always question that. And the narrative with, maybe some funny business on the grassy knoll, or maybe a 3-letter agency involvement, that the whole thing surrounding that is very sketchy. So that was always in the back of my mind, is, what, maybe that is not exactly the way that it was, reported to us. And then the events of 2020 came around, and I started questioning everything. When they started talking about giving us shots and talking about illnesses and all the ramifications with that, locking people down. And I mean, I'm already a right wing conspiracy nut job. And you give me all this other stuff that you want to do and take away my freedoms, I'm going to start questioning this. So I started questioning it, started digging deeper, looking on alternative media sites and seeing what's out there. Watched a documentary called Watch the Water that Stu Peters put on. And that opened my eyes to, oh my God, is it possible that, maybe our government was putting stuff in our water? Is that even possible? To make us sick and then, encourage us to get shots that, um, may not be the best thing for us. And learning more about, okay, were they doing in the hospitals? What was the protocols that they were given by the CDC to treat people? And my mother-in-law was hospitalized, put on a respirator, given the treatments, and died. And after that, my eyes were just completely open to anything. And I started doing my research and learning all kinds of stuff and realizing that we are in a web of lies and deception, and maybe our government is involved in it. And it's not as good as I thought and what I fought for 20 years and served. So all of that really kind of just, I think what the events of 2020 did was totally springboard people into realizing what's really going on in the world. And a lot of people are waking up. I call it the Matrix, taking the red pill and actually seeing the world for what it really is. And if you go down the rabbit trail of government lies and other things, the next thing I found was, what's going on with, why is everyone talking about flat Earth? What's the deal with that? And I probably just banned my YouTube channel because I said those two words together. But I started questioning the nature of our world, our cosmology, and I'm a Christian Bible believing type person, and I started reading what it said and taking it literally, and then figuring out why are people questioning things that we've been taught our whole lives in school. Why is that? So I started questioning things. So that was the first time in all of my videos that I've actually had a cut and wasn't just a raw, straight through video of me. My wife had to interrupt me for a second. So back to what I was talking about. So I started questioning the nature of our world and our cosmology and how it ties in with what the Bible says, and started realizing that, hey, I think our world is not the way they've been teaching us our whole lives. Why is that? Why is everyone teaching us these things if it's not true? And I've come to realize that it is provably, absolutely not the ball that they tell us it is. And that millions of people around the world are realizing this now. And there's, I mean, there's a lot of ball believers that become flat believers, but there's no flat believer that will ever go back to a ball believer. And before you start saying, "Oh, you're just a stupid nut job," don't you know science? Yes, I do know science. I have a high school diploma. I have a bachelor's degree where I did take science and I took astronomy, and I have a master's degree, so I'm not just a dummy person. So it's not that I'm uneducated, and everyone who believes and knows that the world is now flat, they all learned what you learned in school. We all believed in the ball before. All of us did. That's what we were taught. That's what most people still believe because that's what they're still being taught. If you have a globe in your classroom, at your house, if you see one at the store, do a fun little experiment. Pick it up, look at the bottom. There's a sticker on the bottom that says, "This is meant for decorative purposes, not for educational purposes." Why is that sticker on the bottom of every globe? Very interesting. If you don't have one, it's probably because you took it off and didn't realize what it said. But take a look at that and think. So, I mean, and probably even before I started looking into that, I questioned some of the footage with the moon landing stuff. It seemed kind of sketchy. But after I realized that, hey, there is no going to the moon, I started digging deep and looking at the footage of the moon landings and looking at the interviews with the astronauts and looking at all the space station videos that are out there that you can go look at. And there's discrepancies with 100% of them. And before you say, "Oh, I've seen a photo of the Earth," no, you've seen a artist rendition, and seriously, Google it. The artist says it was photoshopped because it has to be. So you have never seen a photo of the Earth from outside of our realm. You have not, and I challenge you to go look at that because it's not crazy. So why do they continue to fake space if it's not real? And if just assume I'm not a crazy person and there is no space that they portray like in Star Wars or, Elon Musk, space launches. If there is no space out there, why are they faking it? What is the purpose of that? Is it because it might prove that there is a God? Is that the world isn't chaos? That we're in an enclosed system described perfectly in the Bible, and it is the way it says in the Bible. It's not just colorful words and imagery. So that's something interesting you might want to check out. So one of the last things that really got me was, being a patriot, 20 years in the Marine Corps. I fought in Iraq, and 9/11, the reason why I went over there I remember when 9/11 happened. I was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps. I was serving up in Oregon at the time, and I watched it on the news as it was happening. And it fired me up, made me leave where I was at and transfer to a unit with 1st Marine Division and fly over to Iraq or Kuwait. And the more I look into that, and this happened just recently, it's like years later, I'm looking at 9/11 thinking there's no possible way. And then when you look more into it about how the buildings came down and which buildings came down in the manner in which they came down, you realize there's only one possible way this could have happened. And it's not from an airplane hitting them. And then whether it was an airplane or not, it wasn't an airplane that brought them down. It was controlled demolition. And why? And if it wasn't us, why did we lie about it? If we didn't put the charges in there and blow it up, why are we lying about it? So a lot of crazy stuff. A book that I read, and maybe we'll talk more as we talk about economics and world finance and the money system and all that stuff. A book called The Creature from Jekyll Island talks about the creation of the Federal Reserve, and which is our central bank here in the United States. It can't be called the central bank. Around the world, they're called central banks, but they're all the same organization run by old world families. And they created the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, not a reserve. They basically just create fake money out of thin air and create policies around that fake money. And they control basically our lives with it. It's the matrix system that we're in. It's what controls us. And we'll probably talk more about that in the future. But this family of central banks around the world, they are the ones that control all the wars. And the Rothschilds, I can't remember which one starts with J. Jeremy, one of them, Jeffrey, one of the Rothschilds, over the past few years said if they didn't want a war to happen, it would not have happened. So they claim that the central banks are the ones that can control whether a war happens or not. And if you look back at the past wars that the United States have been involved in the past 20 years, whether not necessarily wars, but conflicts, if you're talking about Iraq or Libya or Iran, Afghanistan. Off the top of my head, I can't think of more, but there's plenty more. All of them were in countries that did not have a central bank. And after we left, they did have a central bank. So if you put one and one together, you get two, and probably the war was started and ended based on not having a central bank and getting a central bank controlled by the families of the world, Rothschilds, and there's a bunch of others. So this is a very touchy subject because one, it's probably going to get banned, and two, it's going to trigger all the keywords for people to watch this that will probably be giving me a phone call, and I really don't want that because I'm just a nobody, but I am a thinker, and so I hope you will wake up and do your research and look into some of this stuff. Other things that you might go down the rabbit trail on is learning about how our educational system was started by John D. Rockefeller and how he created it so he can create a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. So why would they educate people to not be thinkers? How can they do that? How could they create people who were not thinkers, but educate them and then keep them educated, go to high school, go to college, go to get your master's degree, get your doctorate degree? How could they train you all those years education wise and you not be a thinker? When you think about it, the more you have education, the less you actually really think, and the more you regurgitate knowledge, the regurgitate what they tell you is the knowledge you should have. And that's the system. You have people that are high school dropouts that run major corporations that they started, build businesses and sell them for multi-million dollars. And then you got these people with bachelor degrees that are lifelong, working for the government, type people. How is that even possible? People with master's degree and doctorate degrees working for the government, or these, whether it's a university or the DMV, they're all the government. So there's a lot more about that I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin with that. But they told us right from the beginning what they were doing, and they're doing it. They're creating a nation of workers, not thinkers. And we have our controllers that we have to rely on. Yeah, and I don't want to get into a whole bunch of the false flag stuff that's going on. There's a lot of false flags that kind of nudge us into whatever direction that they want us to go in at whatever time, whether that's riots or shootings or, pandemic scares. All these false flag things are just used to get our eyes off the ball and to force us and to nudge us down the road to their ultimate goal, which is socialism and communism. It's world dominance by the elite powers, and all this ties in. And all this ties into the whole green agenda. Everyone wants to save our planet. Everyone wants to save the snow seals or whatever. Everybody wants all that, but all these problems in the global warming, global cooling, whatever it is, global climate change, all that is a way to just keep us bound up in chains and to force our hand, take money out of our pockets, and just to control us. So it's this is a tough video for me to make because it's something I fully believe in. Something I don't know if I really want to talk about much because I don't really want to be the target of definitely not three-letter agencies or anyone with guns. I mean, I have the ability to protect myself, but not by a whole lot of them. So I don't want to be on the other end of that type of thing. So anyway, I hope this touches somebody in a good way. And if you disagree with me, great. I'd love to hear it in the comments. And if you agree with me, I'd love to hear that too. And I'd love to connect and talk more about this stuff because it's fascinating. But what I've learned is that we live in a matrix. Everything is a lie. And the more people that open up their eyes and wake up, take that red pill, I think the better we're going to be able to recover from the past 4 years that we've been in, or the past decade or two that we've been in of suppression and control. I think everything should be transparent. I mean, the government works for us. We don't work for the government. I believe that the government should be small and we should be big. Government works for us, and they've gotten too big, and it's not the way it should be. And if you don't agree with me, then you're in the wrong country and you haven't read our Constitution. You've never read the Federalist Papers. You never read the Declaration of Independence and why we broke away from England. Over a small little tea tax was the thing that broke the camel's back. And now we're taxed almost 50% on our income. So, wow, how we have come so far over the past 100 years. We've changed a lot in the past 100 years. So anyway, I'm going to end this video. This is my day 9 video of my 10-day challenge. And tomorrow, hopefully, when I get my day 10 video out, I will reveal who challenged me to do this, what am I doing, and maybe I'll have a better idea of the topics I would like to talk about um, in future videos. So I thank you for tuning in, and you can like and subscribe, and I'd appreciate that. And you have a blessed day.